I have been really excited lately by the fact that a lot of the videos that I have posted have prompted people to reach out and talk to me either through comments or personally to message me. And it's been people that I haven't talked to in years, and some of them know who they are. And it's just been really good to reconnect with some people. I had one, I'm not going to put her on blast or anything, but I had one message me to say that my video about everything with McKenna and her surgery that I talked about was helpful, and that she was going through some things. And so I wanted to share a little bit more about my perspective on having a child with special needs. And I also, there's so many people that I don't get to tell these stories to, or that I don't get to share intimate details of my life with, because I can't, I've got 3 kids. I live out in the middle of nowhere. We're really busy with church. I work a full-time job. Like, I don't have the ability to just like go to high school and sit at the lunch table and tell everybody my stories, or you know what I'm saying? So it's really nice to be able to share with people who want to listen. I mean, if you don't want to listen, you don't have to watch my video. That's fine. But if I could sit down with each and every one of the people on my friends list, even I've made so many friends, even all over the world, in Spain and in Mexico and in Israel and all these different places. And I would love to just be able to sit and have a conversation with any people. And if you're in my city, we can make that happen. But for right now, I just want to share some more stuff about my life, because I still really feel like it's helpful for somebody, or maybe it can just bring somebody a smile or make them laugh, or I don't know, whatever the case may be. And so I just feel like so many good things have come out of me posting videos and people sharing things with me, and being able to be an encouragement or help to some people. So I just want to keep doing it. And today I've decided that I want to talk about the best and worst thing about having a child with special needs. I'm going to start with the worst thing, because I don't want to end the video and be like super angry and then that be how I am the whole rest of the night. So I'm going to start with the negative, and then I'll end on the positive and hopefully be in a good place mentally. The worst thing about having a child with special needs, before I had a child with special needs, I probably would have said a million different things and said like, oh, it's just going to be too hard. It's going to be too much. I'm not going to be able to handle it, all this kind of stuff. But in reality, I have learned that the hardest thing about having a child with special needs is other people, and specifically other people's ignorance or unwillingness to learn the truth. And that's not most people. It's actually a very small minority, at least, that are brave enough to talk to me. So that's hopeful for, humanity. But I've had quite a few instances of people that didn't know what they were talking about and just let ignorance spew out. And, I haven't been a Christian forever, guys. I've only been a Christian for like 10 years. So some old thought processes happen when someone says something that offends me or hurts me about my child. And, I'm going to be honest. They're not all like, I'm perfectly nice to their face, but in my head, I'm clawing their face off. So I've had to struggle with that and try to be, they don't realize they're ignorant, which is what's so painful about it. Because I just want to be like, you're a moron, stop saying things. But I can't, because honestly, they don't know that they're being ignorant. And I know this person I talked to, I kind of warned them about that, and they said that they had already maybe had some experiences with that. And I try to tell anybody that I speak to that has a little baby and they're not really used to some of the comments and things yet, that not everybody is going to say wonderful things. And you have to kind of learn that these people don't mean it personally to like attack you. And if they do, they're turds. I don't think anybody that has ever said anything to me meant to be hurtful, but it's still, it's still hurtful. So the couple things that happened to me, and if it's a story you're involved in, then I'm sorry, you're getting thrown under the bus. But basically, not too long ago, actually like about 2 weeks ago, I went to a Walmart with McKenna, and anybody that knows McKenna, who, by the way, if you don't know, I have a daughter with Down syndrome. Her name's McKenna, so she has Down syndrome, in case somebody is watching this that doesn't really know me very well. But she is 5 years old, and I took her shopping with me. And when I take her anywhere, we say hi to everybody. I'm very much an introvert, and I do not like to talk to people, but by the end of the trip, I've made 40 friends because I've had to stop and explain like why she's trying to get in the car with you and leave and go to your house. Like she just does not know a stranger, and therefore I can't be my shy, introverted self. But anyway, we were at Walmart. She was saying hi to everybody. She wanted to give this lady a hug. She wanted to go home with this lady. She wanted this lady's like goldfish crackers. Well, then this guy, he was probably like 60, was on a motorized cart, and he rolled up and he just kind of like looked at her. And she immediately, like, this girl had been saying hi to everybody, but she looked at him and she just was like standoffish, which is very odd for her because she doesn't normally act that way. And most, you know, if you've met her, you know. But he said to me, is she, and then he didn't want to finish the word. Like, I was afraid that he maybe was like embarrassed to ask if she had Down syndrome. And I said, does she have Down syndrome? And he said, no, not that. So I'm like, what else could he be talking about? And he said, is that a mongoloid child? And I was like, what? Like, as I understand it, that's a term from back in the day that's pretty derogatory. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's not a term that like sounds real nice. Like I don't know. It just was caught me off guard. And I was like, well, I mean, technically they're the same thing, but we call it Down syndrome. And he was like, well, I was a doctor for 30 years and I can't remember. He said some other things, but then he was like, I've seen him get cured. And I was like, what? And he was like, don't worry about it, honey. Don't worry, because she could grow out of it someday or something like that. And I'm like, one, I'm not worried about it. Like, I'm over here buying my fish sticks and we're having a good old time. Like, do I look worried to you? And then secondly, you can't grow out of your extra chromosome. Like, that's not how life works. So I was just like dumbfounded, and and there wasn't any convincing this guy. I wasn't even going to involve myself in a conversation with him because Mr. Doctor of 30 years clearly, maybe he lost his license because he was an idiot doctor. I don't know. And I didn't say these things to his face because I'm a good Christian. So I was very polite, and then I just walked away. And then he like started picking on some other girl and her kid like an aisle over, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's crazy. So that was one thing that I just thought like, I'm glad that he talked to me instead of somebody else and hurt their feelings, because I feel like I can take it. But obviously, since he moved on to the next chick, he is just walking around spewing just dumbness. And then another time, I took Savannah, my friend, to college, and this wasn't like a big deal. I don't want her to be like, oh my goodness, this whole thing is weird. She was involved. But anyway, we went down there and we hung out with her, and obviously this one kid like thought she was cute or something and was following us around. And he was just like some college kid, and I think he was trying to impress her, but he was doing it in such an obnoxious way, like just trying to get her attention and be funny and be loud. But he was not funny. He was just annoying. And he kept making references to like very worldly things, which like we were two Christians trying to get her into a Christian college. Like, I don't know why he thought he was going to pitch us all that. But anyway, he started talking about South Park, which instantly was like, oh, well, your classiness just went down a few notches. And he made a comment, obviously not knowing that I have a Down syndrome child, in front of the group of people. Like, he was making like a dumb voice and like saying something about like they probably have Down syndrome or something like that. And like, I just looked over at Savannah, and I think she could tell, like, if I knew how to set people on fire with my eyes from across the room, that would have been the moment that it just like materialized and happened. Because I was just like, I have to remember that this is somebody's child, so I can't punch him in the face. And I didn't even know what to say. I think we just got up and left. And I don't know if later she went back and told him that he was being a turd, or I don't know. But it's just that kind of stuff that like, if you don't know what you're saying, or if you like, just don't say these things. And then there was another time, and the other time someone had called. It was right when we obviously found out about McKenna and stuff. I may have even still been pregnant. I don't know. But somebody said, do you feel like this is God's way of punishing you for the time that you were astray? And again, I just couldn't even answer, because I'm thinking like, where in the Bible does it say that God will punish you with a child? Like, I'm pretty sure anytime it talks about a child, in the Bible, it refers to them as a blessing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a part that says that. I don't know. But it just was like, are you trying to tell me that my child is a punishment and this is like my lot in life that I have to suffer with or whatever? Like, it just, the way it was worded was very hurtful and offensive. And anyway, so that's just the main thing that I have learned that I don't like about having a child with special needs. And it's not even for my sake. Like, I can get over people running their mouth and being idiots because I'm super mature and I never say stupid things. And so I can get over it. It's not going to hurt my feelings after the whole moment's passed or whatever. Like, I don't hold grudges. It's whatever it is. But if someone ever said something and McKenna heard it and understood, and it broke her heart the way it breaks my heart to hear it, like, I'm not sure that I could keep it together. I might fashion a shank and go after them. Like, I don't know what I would do. Because it's one thing to say something hurtful to me who can brush you off and get over it. But if my daughter comes crying to me someday because some kid said something to her at school about, like, wishing that she were never born or something like that, I would lose it. And so that, I feel like, is the roughest part about having a kid with special needs. Like, it's not the many appointments and the many IEP meetings and the issues that I get called with every day, and her, you know, already failing in kindergarten and needing to go to special group classes, or like all these other things. Sometimes they aren't great to go through, but the worst thing by far is having to listen to people spew ignorance and just being hurtful when they don't even know that they are being that way. But all that said, now let's talk about happy things. There are a bajillion happy things, awesome moments that come with having a kid with special needs. But McKenna specifically, I have so many stories, and I'll just tell you a couple about just the way that she has taught me so much. She is so simple-minded. And I don't mean because she's a child or just because she's like delayed. I mean, she is like blissfully simple in that she doesn't overthink anything. If she once, sees a lady across the room and thinks like, I want to give that lady a hug, she's like, I'm giving that lady a hug, man. Like, nothing's going to stop me. She doesn't care about any surrounding factors or anything like that. She just is simple in the best way. And so there's a couple things that has happened. We went to Gatlinburg, which if anybody's been there knows that's like Dolly Parton's town. And so she was having some kind of parade, and we went to it just because we were there. And we waited for about an hour in these seats because we wanted to be close or whatever. So we're all sitting in chairs, and McKenna's hanging out with the people that we're with. And she starts kind of talking to the guy that was sitting next to us, who isn't anybody we know, but he was talking to her. And so she's like, well, I want to go to him. So she goes and sits on this guy's lap and tries to take a drink of his pop or whatever. And he's giggling and laughing at her. And she's like laughing because she's having a good old time. And then she decides she wants to go to this guy's wife. And so she crawls over and sits on this guy's wife. And so she's smiling and everybody's smiling that's watching the whole thing. And then she decides she wants to go to the next people who haven't even talked to us yet today. So she moves on to them. And I mean, I looked as my child, we had like an hour to kill. So we're just doing this thing. But we probably spent a good 40 minutes just walking down this line of people. She could tell that people were so happy to like see her and talk to her, that she was just like you would have thought the parade was for McKenna, okay? She was hugging everybody and like shaking hands and just kissing and hugging and everything. And like, it didn't bother me. I mean, I was right there with her. I didn't like let her go on her own. And so she's probably like 60 people deep now. We've walked like a quarter of a mile away from where we were, whatever, I don't know distance, but we walked quite a ways, and the thing's getting ready to start, and so I'm like trying to rush her, but I'm literally watching people like peeking their head around all the other people, and they're like waiting for this kid to come greet them because they've seen everybody else smiling and loving it and everything like that. And so like people are like giving me looks like, you better not pull her away, like she needs to get to me for a hug. And then I get towards the end, and this lady comes up and like whispers to me, and she points to another lady, and she's like, I don't think you should let her hug this lady because she clearly is like someone who is homeless, and I think she's been drinking, and might be on drugs or something. Like, this lady just assumed all this stuff about her without really knowing her, but she's like, I don't think you should let her hug her. And I was like, look here, lady, there's no controlling this kid. If she wants to hug somebody, she's going to hug somebody. Like, I'm not going to deprive her of that. And I'm certainly not going to make a scene and be like, don't hug this lady. So she walks up to this lady who's sitting there, like, not in the best clothes or anything, doesn't look the greatest or anything. She's even holding a cigarette. And so people are, like, freaking out, like, she's going to burn my daughter with a cigarette. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, chill out, people. And so McKenna walks up and with her arms open just goes like this. And the lady looks at me and she's like, she wants to hug me? And I said, it looks that way. I think you're going to make her mad if you don't. And I mean, the lady was sobbing. McKenna hugged her and squeezed her neck so tight. She was on the ground, so McKenna just threw her whole body weight on her and just bear hugged her. And this lady was sobbing and could not believe that McKenna wanted to hug her, that McKenna thought she was worth a hug. And I just, could tell that it made that lady's day. I don't care about the other 60 people that we talked to. They probably smiled and went on about their day, whatever. But this lady, like, that meant something to her. And I don't know what happened to her life after that, but I was so happy that my daughter could provide her with a feeling of worth that she wouldn't have had otherwise that day, especially when someone was trying to get her to not be hugged. Like, who is being a hug Nazi? That's crazy. Anyway, then through that whole thing, we ended up finding another kid with Down syndrome, and it was awesome, and that was cool. Another time that McKenna did something really cool, she just can read people so well. Like, that man in the Walmart, or like this lady, she, like, knows your soul. It's really crazy. Like, if she doesn't want anything to do with you, then I don't want anything to do with you, because she can tell things that I can't tell. And same goes for, like, she can tell who the people are that she really, like, wants to be around. So we went recently to Florida, and we stopped in Alabama, and we went to this church that I had Googled and found that was like our church. And it was pretty big. I mean, there was, I'm really bad at guessing, but maybe like 300 people. I don't know. And so McKenna walks in, and McKenna at our church tries to always sit with other people. So she finds this lady immediately, and she's like talking to her, and she's like, okay, Mom, well, I'm going to go sit with her. And I'm like, we don't know these people. So no, you're not. And a little bit later, my husband leans over and he's like, does this little girl up at the choir area, does she have Down syndrome? And like, I couldn't tell all the way because she kind of looked like she did, but she kind of didn't. And so, I mean, and I didn't see any of her parents or anything around. I wasn't going to go up and like scare her to death. So we just were kind of like looking. And then a little bit later, when we were able to really talk and meet this lady that McKenna wanted to go sit with, she was like, oh, well, that's so crazy because that's my daughter up there that has Down syndrome. In a room full of like 300 people, McKenna wanted to sit with the one lady who had a Down syndrome daughter. Is that not crazy? And so, I mean, immediately I was like, oh, well, then she knows how to handle her because she's had one, in a church service. And so McKenna sat with her the whole church service almost. And it was just the coolest thing that McKenna picked her out of a room full of bajillion people. And then after that, another lady came up and was crying. And I was like, what did I do? Like, what happened? What did my kids do to you? And she told me that like a year ago, she had a Down syndrome baby, a Down syndrome child that was about 5 years old, and something happened. I don't even remember, but she ended up passing away like the year before. And so to see McKenna, who she said looked exactly like her, I mean, I would have thought maybe it would have broke my heart. Like, I could totally see why she was crying, because if I saw a kid that reminded me of a kid that I had lost, like, I would be bawling. But on the other hand, she was like, can I hug her? And like, of course, McKenna was like, bring it on. And so McKenna went and hugged her, and the lady was just sobbing even harder. And like, I couldn't tell, like, was my daughter like making things worse by like making her cry, or was she like making her day? But either way, I just think it was really cool that McKenna just like, she could tell this lady like needed a hug. And it was really cool. And then the last thing I'll tell you, and I mean, there's a million, but the last thing I'll tell you is that me and my mom went down to an international supermarket thing, and it's a really big place, and so we were walking around this thing for miles, and this man and maybe his girlfriend, I think, came up to us, and he like had been crying, and I was like, what's going on? And he was like, your daughter, can I take a picture with her? And I was like, okay. And he asked for a hug, and then like I could tell he couldn't really speak because he was on the verge of crying. And I guess the girlfriend told us that his sister had Down syndrome, and she looked exactly like McKenna, and that she had made it to about 30 years old, and just recently she had passed away. And so McKenna reminded him of his sister, and he showed me a picture of her on his phone, and like, he did not even know what he was getting into, because anybody who has taken a picture with McKenna, she will manhandle you. She grabs your face and she just like squeezes and chokeholds you, and you know, she is all cheesing and all kinds of, she looks real creepy because she'll like look over and be like just crazy. And so this man was like, can I have a picture with you? And she was like, okay, and like leaped all over him and gave him hugs. And I mean, he just walked away crying. And again, like, it hurts my heart that I make somebody cry by letting my daughter be around them. But at the same time, like, that is such an awesome gift that McKenna can give to people just because of who she is. And, you know, she's just taught me so much through all that. And that's like the best thing about having a kid with special needs, is just the things that I can't name. Like, I can't name how she knows what people need her, or what people need a hug, or what people she wants, you know, to talk to, or whatever. But she just has like an intuition about people that surpasses anything I can put into words. And she uses it as her ministry. Like, she has reached so many people that I would never speak to, that I had to speak to, because she's gone up to them and tried to get in their car or whatever. And so I have to, you know, be like, oh, sorry, this is my daughter, this is what's going on. And she's just the coolest person. Like, it's no wonder that people treat her like a celebrity everywhere we go. When we travel to other churches, or even people that come to our church or whatever, they've like heard about her and they're like, where's she at? Why isn't she here? I need to see her. And like, she'll be down in the nursery. Or like, we traveled one time and took her with us, and she missed our church service. I had like people calling me, leaving me messages saying like, I can't believe you left and took her with you. Like, you should have left her here, and all this kind of stuff. And like, she means so much to so many people. And it's just awesome. I mean, not that my other kids don't also, but there's just something different about her that, I don't know, speaks to their souls or something. I don't know. It's just awesome. And I don't know if that's a McKenna thing, or, you know, because I only have the one Down syndrome child. I don't know if it's a Down syndrome thing. I mean, sometimes I've heard things where they maybe are. But anyway, I just wanted to start this conversation and see if there's somebody else out there that, I know a lot of my friends, they do have Down syndrome kids, because I've networked and met a lot of people. So do you agree? What do you think are the best and worst things about having a kid with special needs? And I know there's all kinds of age spectrums with my friends, and I know there's friends that have kids with autism, and I know there's kids that have, or friends that have kids with other disabilities, whether they're just physical or mental or whatever the case may be. I would love to hear what is the best and worst thing in your opinion, just because I kind of wonder if this is like across the board type thing. And I just think it's nice to share your stories about this kind of stuff with people, because there are a lot of people, like I was, who was very uneducated about Down syndrome, and I was scared of them in the sense that, like, I feel like if I talk to them and I give them too much attention, they're going to think that I'm only talking to them because they have Down syndrome, and like, I don't want to make them feel bad, and then I also don't want to not acknowledge the Down syndrome at all, because then I feel like they're going to think, like, I just had all kinds of crazy, and that's what I mean. McKenna does not overthink things like we do, and I wish I had that gift, but I don't. But anyway, I just wonder what other people think about their situations involving that, and what maybe you've learned, what even through McKenna, if you're, I mean, so many people know her, what has she taught you that I, you know, don't know about? There is one more story, and I don't know if she'll watch my video, but her name was Courtney, and I don't know, maybe I'm like making up half the story because it was so long ago, I don't remember. But I remember crying like a baby when she said this to me in Michigan, I think. McKenna was like 6 months old, and she was down in the nursery, and we were visiting another church so we could speak about the No More Prodigals ministry that we have. And this pregnant lady came up to me after the service, and she said, I just want to let you know that I was in the nursery with your daughter, and she's the coolest person I've ever met. And she said that the next day she was supposed to go in for her, I guess maybe it's that quad test or something, to see, like, they had some suspicions that her baby might have Down syndrome because of some situations that had gone on. So she was going to get this test to find out if the baby did or didn't. And she said that she had been praying, like, no, please don't let this be the case. Don't let the baby have Down syndrome. She was so worried, and she was just terrified that this baby's going to have Down syndrome. And she said that after she met McKenna, like, she could seriously care less, that McKenna totally changed her mind, and that she, you know, wouldn't mind if that were the case. And again, I think that is just such a beautiful gift that McKenna can give. And it's not because of, I don't want to say it was ignorance, like she just didn't know what Down syndrome was, but like honestly, I was the same way. I didn't know all the great things that there was about special needs children or Down syndrome specifically until I had one, until I met a few, until I reached out and joined some groups and things like that. And so I prayed the same way. I was terrified. I prayed every day that she wouldn't have Down syndrome, but I'm so glad that God didn't listen to me because he knew what was best. And my life would be so different without her right now. And I wouldn't know any better, obviously, but like, I just can't imagine not having this joy in my life. And, anyway, so I just wanted to share those things. Hopefully, I don't know, it entertained you at the very least. So, join the conversation here. Let me know what you guys think about your special needs kids, or if you know McKenna, like what has she taught you? How do you feel, about now that you know her and what her life is like, if that kind of stuff were to happen in your life, do you think it would be okay? Or, would it still be scary for you? Like what kinds of things have changed in your opinion from having known someone with special needs? I think is how I meant to word that. I don't know. I hope so.